It feels like, we had to do a Black Widow movie. That's your Black Widow movie. Now go fuck off. Hello, geeks and ghouls. You know what happened the other day? I heard that the Black Widow movie is out, and I was surprised because there was very little buzz. I was clearly not expecting it to come out anytime soon because of, reasons. And it was one of those cases when the movie going experience has changed a lot because in previous years you had to think that, do I want to go and watch this movie? Is it worth my €8 for a ticket? And right now we're into this situation when you have to wonder, is this movie worth putting my life in danger because of this COVID-19 virus that, if mentioned, will make YouTube to tank your channel? Well, let me spoil it for you, but Black Widow is not the movie worth risking your lives for. And since this video and this channel is saving lives, literally, give it a like and a subscribe, okay? The Black Widow movie is set right after the Civil War movie, Captain America 3, the Civil War. That makes it 5 years too late, which is kind of a thing, but we'll get there eventually. Because it actually starts with a flashback in the mid-90s, exactly like Civil War did. And we have this group of super spy Russian agents that escape America. They were there on a sleeper cell mission of sorts, and Natasha is one of them. She's there as the older daughter of the family, and that was quite an interesting part of the movie. It was fun to see this, and we have the father, the mother, the two daughters, and then we get some very grim reminder of how secret services work, as the youngest daughter, Yelena, is recruited for the Red Room, like Natasha was, to become the Black Widow. And then we get to the present, or actually the past, the post-Civil War part of it, where Natasha is evading law enforcement because she's wanted. That's the life of being an Avenger, apparently. And she finds traces of her long-lost sister, as well as evidence that the Red Room, the organization that turned her into the Black Widow, and she has some very dramatic experiences from that time, are still in action. And the plot was kind of jumbled together and barely ties into the larger MCU structure, even of that era. And they're not even cameos from the classic MCU lineup we were supposed to see in other MCU movies. It feels like it's yet another spy thriller with some MCU coding on it, not the other way around, like, say, the Winter Soldier felt. The setup to the movie is very slow and very convoluted, and it takes a lot of time to get into action, and by the point we get into the action, I don't know. And I have no complaints about the casting. The casting was great, but I feel that most of the characters were underused. The movie did not feel like a Scarlett Johansson send-off. It felt more like it was an introduction to Yelena, the new Black Widow, I guess, or White Widow, whatever. I can understand that. I mean, Florence Pugh, who plays Yelena, gives a great performance. And Scarlett Johansson is more going through the motions. She's a veteran, she has been Natasha for so long and very beloved, and those two have an excellent chemistry, and they work together quite well. And then there is David Harbour as the Red Guardian, who is the Russian Homer Simpson's last Captain America equivalent, who is a great comedic relief. He was great in Stranger Things, and he is actually replaying the same role here. And we have Rachel Weisz, who is quite adequate at her role, as the mother to this Russian Super Simpson spies. I really like Taskmaster. Taskmaster had a great potential as the villain, and had two great action sequences early on, and I enjoyed them a lot. Yet the way this movie is structured, this potential never pays off. The fact that the real villain is also away from the action for a long time in this movie does not help to. It doesn't help to establish who that villain is, as well as makes what appears to be the villain for a good part of the movie, Taskmaster, feel less prominent towards the end. There's a huge imbalance. I know there's a reveal about the identity of Taskmaster that has alienated some people, but I don't really care. And the reason I don't care is because the entire movie is not that great. The themes and the plot points of the movie get quite jumbled together, and they barely stand out from one another. I mean, there is a theme of revenge, of reconnecting with your long lost family, or your long lost found family while an orphan, about the harsh life of a spy, or even the harsh life of being behind the Iron Curtain, even though the timeline has been moved forward in the 90s, where the Iron Curtain was no longer a reality. And Russia was quite a different beast back then. And there is also the theme of patriarchal exploitation of young women by dominating men, and how one can liberate herself from it. And that's a big driving point for why Natasha is doing what she's doing throughout the movie. But they never quite pay off, or even come together in a satisfying way, at least in my opinion. And that makes the third act fall apart, despite having bombastic explosions and a lot of choreographed fight sequences. But there is nothing we have not seen before. And I think that this movie suffers from a lack of clear direction. I mean, Civil War and Winter Soldier tackled a lot of themes excellently, but the reason they did that, it was because there were two great directors behind the wheel, and they managed to juggle a lot of stuff together, a lot of characters, a lot of themes, and their experience. The Russo brothers had a great experience in character-driven comedy, and they could pull it off. Here we don't have that. And every movie or TV show like the Winter Falcon, the Winter Soldier, that try to pull off a new Winter Soldier feels very bad because of the lackluster direction, at least in my opinion. Black Widow had the same problems the Falcon and Winter Soldier did have, only without some of the redeeming qualities of that show. And the fact that Natasha has no superpowers, so you cannot get any gimmicky special effects out of it, like some other less stellar movies like Ant-Man or Doctor Strange did in the MCU, doesn't help either. You have seen the fighting sequence, the explosions, the humor was quite subdued for a Marvel movie, but also got in the way of some of the tension. I know it was not, the timing was off, the special effects were nothing mind blowing. And yeah, all this could have been less of a problem if that movie had come out 4 or 5 years ago, right after Civil War, and maybe having a hint about what was coming next towards the Infinity War and Endgame. And I might have said it was okay. It was a Marvel movie, like I said for Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was also kind of an okay movie, but it was before Endgame and was setting up something to happen in Endgame. At this point, the MCU is trying to restart a new arc, and what Black Widow set up for this new arc is too little and too late. This movie feels more like an afterthought because people wanted a Black Widow movie for years. We were asking for this movie for years. And what we got was Captain Marvel, because yes, it has a woman. You want a woman movie, get Captain Marvel. But that's a different subject. Rather than a brave new direction, or even a small step forward, it feels like, we had to do a Black Widow movie. That's your Black Widow movie, now go fuck off. keep buying tickets. And a couple of years ago, I had a video about Avengers Endgame being the end of the MCU. It kind of was, because it was a very satisfactory ending to a great streak of movies. 20 some movies where only Thor 2 was bad. And you know what? Black Widow feels like the MCU has ended. Not that I'm not waiting for Marvel movies, I mean, I'm eagerly awaiting for Guardians 3 to finish the Guardians trilogy, and also the Sam Raimi directed Doctor Strange sequel, because it's Sam Raimi doing a horror Marvel movie. WandaVision was actually quite good and set up a lot for it, so yeah, I have no complaints for that. But it's Falcon the Winter Soldier and Black Widow that make me feel like it feels like we have this successful band who had a lot of hits, and for some reasons a lot of the members went away, and then one of their members, the last remaining member, hired a bunch of new musicians, and they are trying to recapture the iconic era of great successes. And as Guns N' Roses prove, this is not always the case. It feels like a lot of let's get the band back together on the road, but the band is not just there. It takes more than the name and a recognizable member to make it feel like there's a new brave era for your favorite band of Avengers. So yeah, Black Widow, I don't know, really. It will go out on streaming soon, so catch it there. It doesn't feel like it's an unmissable Marvel movie because it's building up to something great. So yeah, that's my opinion of Black Widow. Not worth risking your lives. Again, if you have taken your safety precautions, yeah, you can go and watch it and relive the cinema experience. There are explosions and Scarlett Johansson, so yes, it's entertaining, but nothing to write home about. So yes, that was my opinion of Black Widow. If you have watched this movie, please leave a comment your opinion. You're free to say that I'm wrong. And I'm a Snyder bro and a big DCU fan, despite laughing at how bad they were. Actually, yes, at some point, this movie, early on, felt like it was DCEU film, dour, grim and gritty, which is not good. Snyder fans will probably enjoy Black Widow, I guess. But there's not enough slow motion for them. So I don't know. Yeah, leave a comment below, like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching.